Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'll do some short analysis of some corporate media articles, and I'll start with well, this comes from Yahoo News. The author is Michael Izikov. Usually, when you see at the end of a name, last name FF, like Izikov, Marinkov, you should know that's Marinkov V at the end, which is Russian. And this probably is not Russian, but coming from Russia and had a Russian name, just so you know. From February 27th, 2022. Putin might have lost touch with reality, expert says. Well, I know this guy, the expert, tries to uh, provide me with his uh, interpretation of Putin's behavior in a clinical way, medical clinical way. I will not. I do not subscribe to his assessment. I think his assessment is an assessment of an ideologue, of an activist. And I just want to say something about that I wrote earlier. And it's when you meet an ideologue or a propagandist or an activist, as soon as you hear that person characterizing another person as in pure absolute terms, like he's pure evil, he's the pinnacle of he's the most evil man, he's an evil man, he's this or the greatest person, because you know that we are binary characters. We have good and bad inside of us. We do stuff. Sometimes we do good stuff. Sometimes we do bad stuff. Now the proportion could determine, if you want, the proportion, intensity, the value of our actions, our behaviors, decisions could determine at the end what we are. If we're good or more good than bad or more bad than good. So it's not necessary that you have the number of actions versus you have the intensity. For instance, let's say here you have you you threw a wrapping on the floor, and you spit on the I don't know, on a car, or you cast a rock or throw a rock at someone. Okay, those are three actions, and the other one is killing 50 million people. It's only one action versus three, but the intensity of this one exceeds by far the three. That's why I have to take the consideration not only the number but also the value, the intensity of the action. So we have positive and we negatives. That's why when we talk about certain evil men or people that did bad stuff, historically talking and so on, um, I really disagree when a person is portrayed as pure evil. Like, for instance, I'll give you the easiest example: Adolf from the Second World War. I'm not going to mention the last name because I don't know if these guys are going to say something. Yes, he did this, he did that. Good, bad, 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 bad. But he did some good things too for his people. I know he limited. I mean, you can find all that on YouTube, and then on YouTube on wherever you want to look for. You find how he did with his workers, that his infrastructure programs, standard of living of his people increased you know, extremely during his time. Uh, Besides, he had some personal talent in, for instance, painting and sketching and so on. Yeah, you can say, oh, well, he was kicked out. He did not was not accepted on two occasions in the Vienna Art Conservatory, whatever it was, University Arts, and but he paints better than I do, and I think I have some talent too. So, for instance, you can't just say, "Oh, he was the most evil. He did evil stuff." But you know what I mean. Don't talk in absolute terms, because that's a sign of immaturity, or an activism, or that's a sign of all these things. So let me go back to this Michael Isikov or Izikov, says that Putin lost touch. I disagree with that, um, because I think that he has more sense of reality than these guys here talking, and whatever how they assess the whole situation and how they got to this point tells me that they didn't know what the hell is going on. And I don't, maybe they planned very well this, I don't know, but you know, this the sense of reality, you don't have all the we don't have all the angles to look at the situation. But nevertheless, let's go to the next one. The next one is an AXOS, Rebecca Falconer, February 27, 2022, and she says that Ukraine's President Zelensky rejects Russia Belarus peace talk offer, saying it's not neutral. So he said, President Zelensky, he says that he doesn't want to talk with Russia in Belarus. So it's a little bit strange. Ukraine is portrayed as being the big victim here and going to be massacred and all that, but this guy still has preferences. He's going to negotiate it from a what's. I mean, he wants to just be flattened or something. It's this reminds me. I'm not saying he should go to and this or okay, you go and discuss in Belarus. So what? It's not going to be maybe you. It's going to be your whatever. He offered Hungary, and I don't know why the Russians don't want to go to Hungary, for instance. I don't know that, but Hungary is not neutral either. So he wants to go to neutral, but who's neutral? India or where? You're not going to fly to India to discuss with the Russians and come back. So it's unrealistic. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know uh, what to say, but it's just it reminds me of the how Poland negotiated in bad faith with Germany regarding the Danzig. I bring that example over and over because it's the most revealing. It brings me this what's happening in Poland, in Ukraine right now reminds me of that very much a scenario. Very much. All that could have been very well avoided, and this one could have been very well avoided easily. Easily. You can say, what? Putin what? Just accept everything on his porch? I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that. The Americans would not want that. They wouldn't want to have in I don't know in Mexico some civil war and some people are saying we're going to put some military infrastructure over there next to you. Let's do that and see how nice would and acceptable and inclusive will be the Americans regarding that idea. So you see, it's hypocrisy. So that's why I don't think no Zelensky doesn't want to talk. That means he still thinks he has a chance. Good for him. I mean, maybe he has. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I'm gonna go to the next one, next article, and it's from USA Today. It's a bunch of people talking here, and it's from February 27, 2022. One of them, the first is Karen Bohan, David Jackson, Kevin Johnson, Joey Garrison, blah blah blah, all these guys. And they say EU will close airspace to Russia, fund military equipment, US calls Putin's nuclear move unacceptable. Live updates. So it's on any situation. If you have an argument with your girlfriend, with your father, mother, child, at school, at work. It's always, I mean, that's the basic. In order to find out how and how can we get out of this situation, this problem, this argument, this little fight that we have, you have to go and look for the sequence of the events. So you can't just start. So it must have started with something. No, you go back to that something, and that should be agreed upon both parties. Like you say, okay, I think we should start with this, and I say, no, 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 we start with this because this, I think, it's meaningful to why everything got out of control, and now we find ourselves here. So we have to go as back as chronologically. We have to start from point number zero, from zero, and start with the first thing. Because it's like, for instance, you see someone on the street, you see a guy, let's say, beating another guy, and you feel for the victim. You say, oh, the guy who gets beaten right now is a victim, and you tend to see this is the aggressor, the stronger one, or who's on top right now, and the other one being the victim. That's how we feel as humans. We feel for the weak person. That's Christian, ideology and belief and so on. That's how we are. We root for the weaker without even knowing if the weaker is actually the criminal in the first place. That's why you stop the whole thing and you go back to the beginning. So, and you would find out the guy who's getting pundit right now, he killed these guys, his kids. And this guy caught him, and now he's overpowering him. So I would just turn around and go or kick that guy on the bottom if I find that's the case, because he killed the other guy's family. So I'm not going to defend the victim of this particular sequence right now when he gets hunted by the other one without knowing how did it get to this. And if I find out that the perceived current on the spot victim did something very bad to the other person and the other person is justified to counter this guy or react to his actions, then it's justified, or at least take it into consideration and stop the whole thing there. No, administer justice. What happened, and see how it started, and separate them and dispense justice. So in this case, we find from these guys from USA Today that U.S. calls Putin's nuclear move unacceptable. All right, this is from here. Let's go a day before or two, when this is what happened. NATO summoned its NATO rapid intervention force. I think it's $80,000, 80,000 people, militaries. They would put around Russia. They summoned it. They want to put around there. So they made the first move. Is that a defensive move? You moved your forces forward to the border of these guys. So you don't do. You say, okay, I did it. In a preemptive way. Well, how about Russians did all this preemptively to NATO and possibly Crimea's maybe invasion by whomever, in this case Ukraine. So these guys came with their rapid force intervention, and this guy said, okay, we're going to do our Russian nuclear combat unit. We're going to put it on standby. This is what Putin did. So as a result of these guys bringing 80 or whatever the rapid force, NATO, not on one country, bunch of guys, this guy said, we're going to put the Russian, I'm reading so I don't say stupid stuff, Russian nuclear combat unit on standby. That means we're ready. If you guys make a mistake and you really do something, we're going to have to do something. So you see how the sequence goes? But you see, US calls Putin's nuclear move unacceptable, but they obviously consider their move as perfectly legal because they are on the side of the good, even though they have nothing to do with the conflict. They have nothing to do with the conflict. NATO is not involved. The United States is not involved. It's Ukraine and Russia. It's nothing else. They're not involved. They're not what? No Security Council, resolution condemning Russia, voted upon, vote vetoed, 3 abstains. So who are those guys? Russia perceives them as the enemies. It's like I quarrel with my neighbor and I go and punch the neighbor in the face for whatever reasons, and I got other neighbors getting ready to attack me, and I say, you know what? I'm gonna get my guns ready. Oh my, that's unacceptable, Emil. You got your guns ready, but you are right in front of my house with your guns. What are you doing on my right here? And I have a problem with that neighbor, not with you. What are you doing here? It's unacceptable, Emil. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's not just, not smart. I mean, it's, as I said, 5-year-old mentality or simply criminals. I'm not defending the Russians. You can say that. I don't care. But look at the whole situation. Those guys are at my doorstep, and there's none of their business what happens between me and the neighbor. Unless you're allies, and if you're allies, then you're my enemy. And then you ask me if I get ready for you. It's unacceptable to get ready for us. Why? Because we what? You want me to give you no-fly zone? Do you come and kill me? This is unbelievable. You see, this is how they, and the mass media tells you this BS, puts it over there and what? USA Today, whatever that was that, USA Today makes this title like this without giving you the sequence. Why did they do this? And they should make the title differently. As a result of these guys' move, the Russians did this. The Russian said it's unacceptable, and the other guy said, no, it's unacceptable. You shouldn't react to our act. No, 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 no. You just stay over there and wait for us to fly over you, and it's unbelievable. And then we got to Kosovo. What was I telling you about Bosnia, Kosovo, the Balkans? We get there. So Reuters, Kosovo, which was never recognized by Russia, just so you know, and many other countries like India, I think China, they didn't recognize Kosovo. Romania didn't recognize Kosovo or anything, and they have a temporary U.S. Military base on Kosovo, as far as I remember. So I think that was the whole point over there with America having a base in the Balkans. They could have just asked Slovenia or something. So Kosovo, it's Reuters, February 27, 2022. And we have Kosovo asks US for permanent military base, speedier NATO membership. Okay, so these guys see only two options, A and B. They don't have a C or D or E. So imagine that America is going to do what do they want a base over there? So in case they're attacked by anyone, the peacekeeping force of the United States, if they're casualties, they will be drawn into a war. And they want NATO membership. You're not even a country yet. I don't know what you are over there because you are part of Serbia. Somehow you're not something over there. Not, it's you talk about Crimea, talk about Kosovo. I'm not talking about its legality as people of self-determination, but if you use a set of value here, use the same set of value here. Okay, just do the same thing. Do the same thing. Referendum, no referendum. Recognition, no recognition. Make up your mind. It's just how the wind blows. The same. 5-year-old children here. The next one is from The Week by Grayson Quay. It's a weekend editor. February 27, 2022, and it's titled Zelensky downplays expectations ahead of Monday talks between Ukrainian and Russian delegation. Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing they both want peace, but they have different vision of how peace should be. I hope they get to an understanding, but the problem is they will not. I don't think they will get an understanding. In my opinion, I would give 80 no, 20 yes, because I don't think the Ukrainians are going to negotiate in good faith. I think they will only negotiate when it's imposed to them, when they're going to be raised and conquered. Then they will agree to whatever, unless they're going to be punched the teeth. As of now, they still think they buy time for armament and maybe support from other for their sponsors. United States, Germany seems like they jump on the bandwagon. British, who are silent right now, but they are with both feet in the whole thing. The French quiet right now. Canadians want to play a role, but they are, I don't know. Those guys are just not those guys. I'm talking about the leadership over there, the guys in charge, not the leadership, the guys in charge. So I hope everything goes okay, and they satisfy whatever needs to be satisfied. But Zelensky should say, no, man, we go over there with high expectations. That means he's ready to negotiate. I downplay it. That means you don't even want to do it. You know that your expectations or your offers would be immediately, kicked to the side by the Russians and vice versa. The Russians will come with some demands that you would say that's outrageous. So it's good that you communicate. That's good that you communicate with one another. That's great. That's a good step. Now we'll find out what's happening with that. Next one. It's a Reuters article from Sunday, February 27th, and it says very probable that Swiss will freeze Russian assets, says the president, blah, blah, blah. And I find here that the Russians, and say Russians, the companies and whatever, so the government last week amended its watch list to include 363 individuals and 4 companies that the EU had put on its sanctions list to punish Moscow. Russians held nearly 10 billion Swiss francs, that's 11.24 billion US dollars, in Switzerland in 2020. Swiss National Bank data show Switzerland is also a major trading center for Russian commodities. Now, if the Swiss do such a thing, they're not neutral anymore. Remember in the Second World War, Sweden was neutral, right? I think Norway was neutral until the British invaded Norway, and then the Germans kicked the British out of Norway. Just remember that. If you didn't know, just read. So it was not that the Germans just came over there. Yeah, you can say, yeah, the Germans planned, but the British, were first. Yeah, were first, but it still was two independent countries, right? Great Britain and Norway, and they attacked Norway. So it's still it's illegal under international law, and it was. So here, if these guys, if Swiss banks and they do this, I think they lose. I mean, people, as I said, have a very short memory span, about 3 minutes from here, 3 minutes back. That's all. So they will forget about this, and they will still consider Swiss banks and Swiss government as the pinnacle of fairness and business oriented, and the neutral position in the world affairs and so on. But you have to remember stuff more than 3 minutes in the past. Now I will talk about this last article that I want to talk about is the president, if you want to call it the president of the union, and actually she is the president of the European Commission. So you have a European Union, you have a European Parliament, and you have the European Commission, and you have the president, like you have the president of the United States. We go to vote for the president of the United States. The same do in every other democratic party country. Now in a community, in European community, in the EU, it's not like that. In the European Union, it's not like that. We, let's say I'm from Romania. I'm a Romanian. I vote for five. How do you call those? Corrupt politicians who are going to be the representatives of Romania in the European Parliament. They go over there, and when they go over there, they, with their hanky panky and so on, they will elect. There's a fight, political fight between parties and their ideologies. They will fight on who's gonna be able to vote for a person that they choose, not me, not me. They will decide. So let's say these guys are over there and they choose. Let's say we're gonna put Adolf, and Adolf's going to be elected if he has support over there without me voting for Adolf. So Adolf would become the president of the European Commission. So that's how over there the president. When you see this Ursula Gertrude von den Leyen, not Lion, Leyen. She is she's German, and she is since 2000. Since December 1st, 2019, she's the president of the European Commission. She was not elected by any person in the uh, European Union. It was appointed to be elected by those guys, and they did their hanky panky and then let us know, or them know, this is the person we elected, we put in place over there. Now, if that's Stalin or Adolf or who the hell knows who that is, we have nothing to say about it. Nothing. No say. So when you hear her talk, or you see this president of European Commission, that's a nobody. What did that person do? Who's that? Who is that? I didn't vote for that, like Nigel Farage said about Rumpoy when he had that little outbreak and what? Just look, Rumpoy and von Rumpoy from Belgium, right? He was elected, put the president of European Union, and Nigel Farage said, "Who are you? I don't know you. Nobody heard about you. And now you're the president? Who are you?" I never heard of them. I never heard of this woman. But you can read her biography and find out. Okay, she is a German politician and so on. So that's all I had for now. Thank you very much for being with me. And pay attention to these guys. These guys think that they deal with immature, with children. And they are children, and how should I put it nicely? Corrupt. I want to say another word with the C. But they're anyway corrupt, but crime, members of the crime unit. So anyway, guys, just look at things, they how they're vomited to us by the mass media, and realize that these guys are just, and this is just the tip of the iceberg that we can see. We don't know so many things that happen behind us, over, under, and so on. We don't know what Putin is talking with those guys, with the Americans, with all those guys, because they're in contact, they're in touch, they talk, they negotiate, but we don't know that, and the mass media zip it, or they don't know. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, see where we, in what kind of world we live, and look for justice. Be a just person based on the truth, on evidence, on facts. All right, see you later. Have a nice evening. Ciao.